I want to touch on the subject of soil degradation and desertification. As you may have seen, soil is degrading at a rate of 40% worldwide, and it's being desertified at some 33% or so. Different programs give you different figures, but I was just reading one report from IPCC. It's the environmental panel that oversees issues with climate change and the soil and the environment. And they come up with these reports about different topics. I was reading the one on soil, and it's a 405-page pamphlet or report. And in this report, it's being drafted by about 35 scientists and collaborators. But the most significant thing is not only the length of the report, is that after all the explanation they give and all the scientific facts and all the dissecting of what is happening with the environment, with climate change, with the soil, different stressors that have given rise to this problem with the soil. I just noticed there is only one thing that they are recommending we need to do. It's very simple. It's agroforestry, which means planting crops and at the same time planted trees and shrubs around the crops, so that there is a mixture in the environment and the conditions of the soils of the soil is kept. Livestock, use of livestock to use the manure to keep the soil fertilized. And also it is the agroforestry, the livestock, and rotation of crops, meaning you rotate the crops and you give the soil some rest for a few months until you harvest again. And I'm like, but I mean, in a 405-page report, this is the recommendation for to stop degradation of the soil and the desertification in the areas, of course, where it can be done, which is most of the planet at this time, except some really dry lands that there is nothing to do. But I'm telling you, even in dry lands, there is always some natural rehabilitation that you can do, and some reforestation that you can do. So I was thinking, why is it possible to have a 405-page report by scientists and still most of the condition of the soil remains as is, desertified and just not good for harvesting? And I'm thinking, is it that the way we are going after making these reports, it's obsolete, it's unavoidably difficult to understand? Because when you present such a report to a government, to policymakers, they don't know what to do with the report, because it's so detailed and so scientific, and it's so difficult to understand that the bottom line, which is just go and talk to the farmers, talk to the communities, talk to policymakers, and ensure that the farming is done in a way where you rotate the crops. Allow livestock so that the soil gets regenerated, right? Do reforestation. Allow the natural habitat in the ecosystems to grow again without deforestation. It's easy. It's very simple, but I don't know why the scientists make this such a difficult and complex issue. I believe in my heart that the scientists are the reason why we are in the condition that we are. Because when policymakers, when the people don't know what you know and have not been able to dissect so much as you have dissected, they are even afraid of looking at those reports because they will believe it's impossible to implement. So scientists are giving recommendations to policymakers and to countries and to people and to the UN and all of that, and it's going to waste. Why? Because the model they are presenting is complex. It's impossible to read a 405-page report that at the end, all it's saying is that we can rehabilitate the soil by allowing 3 or 4 things. And this can be implemented worldwide because soil is the same soil in America, in India, in China, in Russia. It doesn't matter. If you want harvest out of the soil, you just need to give it the same approach. You have the different ecosystems. It's cold, it's hot, it's humid, okay. But taking agroforestry and planting trees among the crops to keep the humidity of the soil, the nutrients, the humus, all of that. Livestock, everybody knows what a cow is. And other ruminants on the land. This cannot be so complex that so far we have not been able to implement it. It's impossible. But science has made it impossible. Because what is simple as the soil, what is simple as earth, science is making it very hard to understand. So that's why policymakers have not been able to implement these simple methods that if you just go and talk to a farmer that knows of the land more than 30 scientists together, he will be able to understand exactly what planting trees is, what using livestock is, what rotating the crops is. The farmers are the ones that need to be giving these instructions and be helped and be given incentives so that they can do it. It's not so difficult. It just needs a little bit of common sense and simplicity, because sometimes when we make things that are simple so complex, this is what is happening. Land continues to be degraded. Soil continues to be degraded and desertified. Because all the knowledge that we have, all the scientific pointers that we have, all the experimentation that we have, if you tell me this is happening since the 1800s, oh well, why hasn't it been already resolved? Who is not giving the proper instructions to whom? Because in my opinion, a 405-page report like that, so conclusive, so intense, so dissecting, if I go by that report, the whole soil and land on the whole earth should be already in good condition, and it's not. It's not, because sometimes you cannot give such complex solutions to such simple things like rehabilitating the soil. And it may not happen at the same rate in every part of the planet. But if we become and we start simple, I'm sure it can be done. But don't talk so scientifically. Just talk to the people in the way people can understand things easily and then implement them, because it's not so difficult. We're talking about soil, plants, trees, water, livestock, crops. We know these terms. We have known these terms for a long time. And this can be done. Soil can be regenerated. But policymakers, farmers, the people, they need to understand in simple terms what is going on and how can it be done in simple terms. Soil needs to be regenerated. It cannot continue desertifying or getting degraded. But there are simple ways to get to good results. If we maintain ourselves in a 405-page report and we put it on a desk and we don't do anything about it because we think it's too complex, then science is good for nothing.